Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Water Cooler Chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer, whether it's transcoding, delegating, orchestrating, developing, or AI integrations. We're here to ask questions and get answers. So we have an agenda item ahead of us. We have a Q&A session with a couple team members, a couple orchestrators in the community who have put forward a proposal for some treasury funds. We're going to dive into what their proposal is and how it's going to affect the protocol and the ecosystem. So first I'd like to introduce up, I guess, who wants to kick us off with an introduction as to where this proposal came from and what it's looking to achieve. Who could I first hand that off to?
I'll take it.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Why don't you kick us off?
So, hey guys, I'm Mike Zuper. I run the Zodap orchestrator for the last 2 years. As far as the Livepeer Cloud SPE, as you guys know, I've been a loud voice in the community for the last 2 years, always trying to find ways to be what I was calling, quote, broadcaster number two. So this has been in the works for a long time, trying to identify an opportunity in which we can start to bring Livepeer transcoding capabilities outside of Livepeer Studio to a broader audience. And we wanted to start to see if we can somehow generate demand and get some more adoption and accessibility of the Livepeer protocol. So, personally, it's been a mission of mine for the last 2 years, but I think in alignment with Speedy Bird and Papa Bear, I think these two has also been part of the the planning and the visionary parts of it. And I think recently with the formation of the Livepeer Treasury, I thought it would be a good way for us to one trailblaze a little bit and be one of the first to get an SPE off the ground. I think the AI team beat us to that one, which is fine, but literally we still believe in the core network where folks are out there running their orchestrators. The three of us are one of them running orchestrators today, and we just want to see the success of Livepeer. And I think this is one of those shots on goal, as Doug calls it, so that where we could get some integrations, get the Livepeer community, the Livepeer network more known, more accessible, widely adopted.
Very cool. Yeah, that's a good introduction. So, from my understanding, I quickly read your SPE proposal, your draft, and for those that are in the chat here, I put it in the chat for you to review as we go along. So it sounds like this is going to be, a public broadcaster where people can use for free. They can test out the network and the capabilities of Livepeer, the transcoding, and it sounds like the AI stuff as well. Is that kind of the gist of it?
Yeah, again, I think this all happened prior to the AI initiative, but we definitely, if running a node means, participating in AI, we're definitely gonna help participate there. But I think it's really, like I said, the classic core part of the network, getting the transcoding. But yes, the SPE, primarily the goals are surrounding accessibility and adoption. And I think our strategy as a collective group is to bring Livepeer to the customers using the software stacks that they run today. So we have, a proposal now specific to one of the media servers and getting this Livepeer cloud broadcaster off the ground. But I think it goes beyond this initial proposal as well, where we look to bring it to as many media servers that we can and get as many customers that are out there in the Web 2 world today using transcoding services like AWS and the like, and see if we can start to siphon them away from those technologies and bring them into a more Livepeer oriented approach. I think the key part of the public broadcaster, the free to use broadcaster, is demystifying Livepeer, right? When at the end of the day, folks that want to start streaming, they're going to push their RTMP streams out and they're going to have HLS playback. And doing that in a Web 2 manner, but leveraging Livepeer is the main thought process behind Livepeer Cloud is let people try it, test drive it, but not be burdened with the complexities of being a node operator from a broadcaster perspective. But at the same time, for those who want to run and who are motivated by self-hosting and custody of your own content, especially as a streamer, I think providing the blueprint, which is Livepeer Cloud, right? Provide the blueprint for others to actually, self-host their own broadcaster nodes and their own media servers. So it's education paired with integration where we feel like we can start to bring awareness and adoption to the Livepeer network.
Very, very cool. Yeah, that sounds like a really wonderful initiative. Do you want to talk a little bit about? So it sounds like you want to demystify Livepeer. You want to allow people to build quickly, easily. Is this like how long does this free broadcaster last? Like if someone starts scaling up, are they allowed to use it and drain the funds and use it as long as there's funds there? Is there some sort of free tier limits? How do you see the developers using this stuff interact with eventually paying for Livepeer, or how does the incentive mechanism work?
Well, I think with the public broadcaster specifically, it's going to be limited use. And again, out of the gate, what the limits and the rates and tiers and all that mean. I think we're going to start out with a small set of testers to prove that we have the proper software and infrastructure in place. But I think what we look in the future is for folks that are using Owncast, it's a real personalized solution. This is one of the integrations that we plan to use. And I think pair that with the public broadcaster, we can get folks on that have no technical expertise. They could simply use the service unlimited. And as far as how long will we be able to fund it? It's unknown right now. I think we're going to take a portion of the fundings from the SPE to get people that free to use test drive. And what one of our hopes or outcomes we expect is as people start to scale up and expand, or maybe even abuse the Livepeer Cloud, we'll reach out to those folks, and we want to really look at how can we help scale them. Because if they're tapping out our broadcast, or they're putting a lot of streams through, that means they have an audience and they care about them. And I think in that scenario, it might make more sense for us to do a custom integration for them, or to even enable them to run their own broadcaster. And I think that's part of the providing that blueprint for others to use it. So yeah, there's potential that we could run out of funding, but if that's the case, that means we have a lot of adoption. People are really interested in using it. So I think that's why we really want to make it as free, and we're going to keep it free as long as we can. Obviously, try to limit the abuse, but we don't want tiers. We don't want a rate limit. We want to really let people tap into it and see how it might impact their operations.
Very good. Yeah, I like the introduction to that, and it makes sense. We have a couple questions so far. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in chat. Rick, you have a question. Why don't you unmute yourself and join us and ask a question over voice?
Yeah, no problem. It might have been already answered in the forum post. I'm a bit short on time, so I try to read it quickly. But my main question is about the free transcoding minutes you provide. Are you planning to set up your own orchestrators to provide these minutes? Do you need other orchestrators to provide these minutes, or is it, for example, deducted from the treasury allocation you are requesting?
Yeah, no, I think part of the SPE proposal includes a portion of that monies to be provided for the transcoding. And in fact, we don't want orchestrators to reduce their fees. We want to see if there's a marketplace, if there's an appetite for folks to actually spend money using Livepeer's services, right? So we don't want it to be subsidized on the backs of the orchestrator. Being one, we feel like it's already tight as an orchestrator to provide these resources. So we want to pay for the services. We want to evaluate the cost to operate a node and we want to be transparent so that others who want to replicate it will have a better understanding of what it takes to pay for these services. And again, I think if we get the metrics and the data that we're looking for, we can put that right up against Amazon and some of the other providers and say, here's the actual, here's what we see from our perspective. And that might mean, more customers are looking at their bills and saying, hey, we don't want servers, we don't want complexities with these transcoding requirements, and let's see if the Livepeer network can offload that for us and reduce our costs. So it's an experiment to verify the cost and node operations being completely transparent, but at the same time, we really don't want subsidized services. We want folks that are willing to pay for it. So I think that's why we're trying it free to use up front, and we don't want the orchestrators to take a haircut. So and hopefully, if it starts to get the traction we think, there might be paid engagements that we can build on top of the free broadcaster.
Yeah, I think your proposal was very valuable. It was something that I thought about some months ago as well, that I wanted to provide some free broadcasting budget myself. So in that sense, for example, I would also be able to provide some free broadcasting. For example, if I have 80% GPU free, my energy costs are not too high. I can provide some transcoding there. Is that also something you would like, or are you now really on that you keep paying the orchestrators?
No, I think it's good that you're offering it, and we do appreciate the support. But again, we want to make it so that orchestrators can still use this as we think demand generation. We want to generate new revenues for the network. So, but it's good that you're saying that. But at the same time, this public broadcaster is going to be a test bed for the network as well, where selection algorithms and different weightings for prices and performance. This will be a place where folks can experiment. If we wanted to, today Livepeer Studios providing a bulk of the demand, and they have their selection algorithms. And recently, it'd been some changes they made, and I think those changes we may or may not agree. But I think with a broadcaster like this, where it's open and public, I think we can start to unpack algorithms and selections and things that would benefit the network at large to be able to see the data. What is the broadcaster? How many streams are we getting? How does the swapping look like? What's the performance of our orchestrators? Brad has done a good job there, but I think this makes it more production-like and more transparent than a private entity like Livepeer Incorporated.
And I would point out though that any ideas that surface, even if they aren't part of our primary objective now, because we want to keep things tight, doesn't exclude it from inclusion in the future, right? It's where feedback's useful. I know there was a good conversation about today how you can already say, well, if a stream's coming from this address, don't charge or set the price to zero, basically. But that prevents that has a limitation in the sense that you can't say only allow for this much capacity. So that type of capability was suggested, and certainly as things progress here, it would be a potential target for a next set of features or capabilities we can add to the public broadcaster, so that you can envision one day the public broadcaster capable of doing a variety of different things, not only having a marketplace for pricing and orchestrator selection, but not just also doing transcoding, but doing other capabilities like within the AI sub network as well. So I think these are certainly good ideas and worthy of investigating as time progresses.
Yeah,
Thanks.
just so folks know, Speedy Bird and Papa Bear are also my cohorts in this initial proposal. So that's why he's jumping in and filling in the cracks where I might leave some openings there.
I see Travis has a question. Travis, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? I think it's around what kind of entity this is. And I believe, Chav, yeah. Do you want to ask what your question is?
I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. So just for clarity, so you said a public broadcaster a few times, so I'm just got to get the terminology straight here. And I see Mike saying it's a node. So I'm just hoping maybe you can explain that a little bit more. Is there like a collection of nodes? Is the broadcaster a more general term, or is it referring to a specific node?
Yeah, the Livepeer software itself has a couple node types. There's three primary ones: the broadcaster, the orchestrator, and the transcoder. The transcoder is the one with the GPU doing the actual transcoding. The orchestrator is the one taking in jobs and sending it to transcoders. So that's typically done by the members of this community. I'm an orchestrator, so, and I'm also a transcoder. So I do both roles today on the network. The broadcaster today, we've had a few broadcasters on the network. Livepeer Incorporated is the main broadcaster that does a lot of the real transcoding jobs. The broadcaster will send those jobs to the orchestrators. Now, what we're calling a public broadcaster is the Livepeer Cloud special purpose entity that we're forming will manage the public broadcaster. So we will run a node that will send work to the public Livepeer network for transcoding, and the broadcaster pays for the work. So the broadcaster pays the orchestrators to do the work. So we are sitting on the other side now, where we are going to run a public broadcaster. We're going to generate demand and send work to the Livepeer network. Whereas today, Livepeer Inc. has been the main driver for demand generation. We're going to be another separate entity that's going to try to make another attempt at building up the demand as well.
Okay, that's awesome. That explains it a lot. So then there's a good test case here to see how the resources handle the increase, the business model, all of that. Like we get to kind of watch a test case go forward here, eh?
Absolutely, and I think that's a big one, is having the data, the analytics, the insight into all the nuance around running the Livepeer infrastructure. Where the cost savings come in, where are the challenges, where are the potential pitfalls for adoption as well. Livepeer Studio has been really great by providing, Livepeer Incorporated providing some insight, but I think there's still quite a bit that is private to that entity. And I think this is completely in the open, in public, so that everyone can see. There's no company that's going to be looking for profit here. We're literally trying to find ways that we can understand what the needs are for the customer. How can we improve the adoption? And I think the one thing to state specifically is, video streaming media platforms are a lot bigger in a stack than just providing transcoding services. There's delivery, there's ingest, there's multiple protocols, there's playback, there's a ton of things that go into a media stack. And I think being able to provide easy on-ramp and easy guardrails for people who may not understand the complete stack, this is where we can start to bring the capabilities of Livepeer to those customers. And we're going to meet them at their media servers, whereas Livepeer Studio is trying to bring developers to use their platform. We're going to bring the platform to the streamers and the developers where they're currently located with their current Web2 media platforms.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And then the nature of the whole project anyways is anybody could start up what you're working on. So it stays a very open market, but we get to see what you're doing, and you're going to help a lot of users in the end.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Mike. That's awesome. Very looking forward to seeing where you go from here and how this all shapes up. Like, I'm new, so thanks for answering some questions.
Cool. Thank you. Titan.
All right, I've got some more questions. Anyone else have any questions before I move on and jump into some other stuff? So yeah, my next couple questions are the following. I guess, is this project going to be open source or closed source, or how do you see that going forward?
100% open source. Everything we build is going to be, publicly accessible. So, first and foremost, we're building software, right? So the public broadcaster is software that we're building. To sign up, users can sign up, get a key, they can send streams into this public broadcaster. They can download their transcoded segments. But the same goes with the integration to the Owncast media server, which is the first media server that we propose to integrate with. There's others we're looking at for future potential proposals, but the first one is Owncast. And I think, with these integrations, we can start to get more analytics and more detailed data, and all of that's going to be open source. But the important part for Owncast is we're actually in communications with the Owncast team to have this natively built into the product. So they have a distribution channel that they release their software to, and we're hoping that we could piggyback on their marketing efforts and get adoption just by piggybacking on a popular open source platform and merging it into their code base. So we're going to start out with a fork, but we are definitely moving towards getting these integrations native to the media servers themselves, so that it's literally just you run the software where you're running it today, you go in with some configuration, and now you're using Livepeer.
Could you explain what Owncast is? I'm not familiar with the term or what they are.
Yeah, again, Owncast is something that I've been playing with over the last 6 or 8 months, I'd say. And I want to be a content creator as well. So producing my own media content, technically, software coding related, but Owncast is exactly what it says. You think of it in 2 words, own and casting. So it's literally individuals who want to set up a media server with very little technical skills. They can deploy their media server, and then they can, point DNS to it. And now they have a place where they can chat with their users. They can live stream. Think of it like Twitch, but on an individual basis, self-hosted, individual, Owncast. And I think if you can, I have some links in our proposal to the mission of Owncast. And I think it's a more personal engagement with the streamer, whereas Livepeer is built, or Livepeer Studio is, a broader enterprise-ready solution. This is more a smaller scale solution, integration with customers on a personal level, whereas, versus enterprise-ready Livepeer Studio.
Wonderful.
Does that help?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm just not familiar with it, so it's good to get an introduction to it and kind of the direction you're going. So nextly, I'd talk about a couple more things. More about the pre-proposal that you put forward. Specifically, I want to talk about milestones, your funding, and also the team. So the first set are your milestones. Can you explain what your milestones are and kind of what your deliverables on those would be?
Yeah, on the proposal we have 4 milestones listed, and that if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the page, but I think if you look at our roadmap, it's really clear. In February, we are going to release all of our documentation about how to install, configure, set up, and fund a Livepeer broadcaster. So I think if for those folks who want to self-host and run their own broadcaster, we're going to provide a blueprint for those folks. Whereas today, it's not crystal clear how that might be, right? There's limited documentation on those topics. So getting the broadcaster, the Go Livepeer broadcaster documentation and setup in the hands of folks who want to self-host is the first milestone. And I think, and that pairs directly with deploying Livepeer Cloud. So as we mentioned, we are going to be that public broadcaster. So if you don't want to set up the broadcaster, you don't want to deal with wallets and crypto, we're going to provide another avenue called livepeer.cloud, which is a website that we are going to have in, and again, the timing can vary, but it's going to be February, April, and March of this year, where we're going to bring this entire SPE step 1 of the roadmap to fruition. So getting the broadcaster docs in February, getting the the Livepeer Cloud platform off the ground and have a beta testing by the end of March. And I think we're probably going to do beta testing in February as well, or March if we can get it sooner. So February, March, we're going to do the deployment of Livepeer Cloud, provide beta access to our users. And I think this is where we'll need the community a lot, is reviewing the docs that we produce, help us beta test the software, make sure that it works, make sure we have the proper analytics in place and it's clear and easy to use. And again, we're trying to demystify stuff. So we got to make sure that if we understand it and the Livepeer community understands it, then we're going to go to the last part of the roadmap, which is integrating Owncast and Livepeer. So providing the source code and a sample deployment of Owncast that comes out of the box with Livepeer integration baked in. We're going to be doing that as well. So it's literally get the code right, get the site up, get the integration in place, provide the documentation, and then have several key touch points with this community to show the work and to demonstrate the capabilities. So there are going to be a lot of office hours and a lot of conversations over the next few weeks. I mean, literally, our transparency is every week, every 2 weeks, we're going to be in the community, either at the water cooler chat or office hours. It's going to be blog posts. It's going to be videos. We're going to be out there. We're going to hit you so hard with Livepeer Cloud that you're going to probably get tired of hearing from us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really good. Also, big shout out to whoever did the visuals on the roadmap and in the post. I like that there's actually a road, and that they're somehow on stilts. And it reminds me. It reminds me of a Rainbow Road from like Mario Kart, where there's just no siding and you just go flying off the end.
You better be careful riding down this road, boy. It's tricky.
Yeah, that's too funny. Yeah. So big shout out to the visuals on that. It's good. It's good. I want to open it up now. Does anyone else have any questions on the milestones or the deliverables of what the SPE is looking to achieve? If not,
and just while people are thinking of their questions, I just want to remind you that, we've had some conversations in Discord, and we also have quite a few questions that were asked in the Livepeer forum post. But if you look at the very bottom of our Livepeer forum post, we've summarized all of the questions and answers that we've seen up to this point, and we've published them with our answers to those questions. So if you'll look, there's a handful of questions out there, and anything that comes up today, we plan to update there as well. So there's a whole host of commentary, folks just giving their input. Others are very specific questions that we answered, and we can talk about a few of those questions if there's any on there, Titan, that you want to look at specifically and dive into.
I can just bring up that Rick posted in the chat. Another question is, I saw, why not separate the SPE into smaller treasury proposals? So separate treasury proposal for these Livepeer integrations in popular open source media servers. And
I think that. So if you want me to take a crack at that, Papa.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you answer it, but I think we're all. I mean, I know you and I and Speedy have all spoken about why we think this belongs as a single one, but I'll let you handle it.
I think in general, though, it's pretty straightforward. If you look at any one of these milestones, absolutely, they could be separate. Minor grants that doesn't really require a special purpose entity. But I think our purpose, our mission, goes beyond one-offs, a single project here or a single project there. I mean, if you look at our current state, our proposed state, and our future state, and the overall theme of our SPE is bringing Livepeer to the customers where they are. And I think strategically that's very different from Livepeer Inc. And I think this SPE is looking at just complementing and adding on to what Livepeer Studio and Livepeer Incorporated is doing. So I think, yes, it could be a single grant, but I think what we look at in the future, and as we start to get feedback, and I think that's the important part, is we're taking a blind stab at this first proposal to see where we can get the support and the adoption. But I think ultimately, when we start to get that feedback, that transparency we were talking about, we plan to cater and alter our roadmap in the future to do more to generate demand. So getting that education, doing that first experiment is a critical component. But the SPE is because we want to stay on mission. We want to go beyond just Owncast. We want Ant Media, Oven Media, whatever other stacks, tech stacks, software stacks that media content creators are using. We want to bring those capabilities to Livepeer. And that also may mean, altering the core capabilities of Livepeer so that we can bring it to more media servers. So it's like a flywheel where we're going to be getting feedback from our users, and then we're going to start to roll that feedback into the software itself. If it's the public broadcaster or if it's the actual Go Livepeer, we're going to look at all the ways that we can expand it. So I kind of rambled a little bit there, but you can see that there's a lot more beyond just 1 or 2 grants, where we see that this can be multiple months, multiple projects. This might be a 2-3 year endeavor. I mean, it all depends on how we start to get traction, but that's why our thoughts were an SPE versus individual grants.
And I'd also like to just add to that oh, sorry, Speedy.
I think
I just wanted to add
Doug, but go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
Papa.
sorry, Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Papa.
I was gonna say, I think that the reason that we put these all together is that they really work synergistically together, and having the public broadcaster makes it easier for these integrations to work. So to not have them all out in the together, it loses value. To have those integrations work smoothly and easily. So that's why we thought they made sense to just put these all out together as
each build on top of the other one. That's a good point. Thanks, Papa.
It gives a public working model, right? So someone can use it, and obviously by having the public be in a kind of free way allows, I'm not a big fan of these terms, but a Web 2 tech stack to leverage a Web 3 solution without necessitating them to learn and go through the hurdles of wallets, addresses, provisioning on chain, that kind of stuff, which some people either will be intimidated by because it's just another thing to learn, or will be turned off by. And by removing that as a hurdle, I think we avoid some of those concerns that can pop up. And again, having it all done at once provides that kind of working model for an end-to-end approach.
Hey guys, I was going to ask a question about the public B and the Owncast integration. So I know that you want to host the public B for the reasons that Speedy just articulated, but for Owncast, are you also considering the possibility that the Go Livepeer broadcaster is embedded directly in the Owncast integration so that a user could start it as their own broadcast node that's funded with their own ETH, or is the whole idea that everything runs through the public B?
Well, right now, as you speak on that topic specifically, as we're interacting with the Owncast GitHub maintainer, he has reservations about embedding third-party dependencies into their stack that may or may not exist a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road. So he has concerns with, accepting external dependencies. So I think, embedding it would be definitely a way that we can make it a lot easier and not have to deal with a separate entity called the public broadcaster. But I think the integration with Owncast specifically is you're going to have 3 options, right? One option is to use the public broadcaster, and the other option would be to use self-host. So if you are inclined technically and you understand the media stack, you can take Owncast and spin up your own broadcaster and still leverage the integration work that we've done here. So it's not to limit them in that regard. But then again, on the third option is you could use Studio as well if you really wanted to go under the covers and integrate it. So we're reluctant to embed, Doug, in the short part of it because of the concerns from the GitHub maintainer. But I think ultimately, loose coupling is probably going to win us over in the long run if we could provide capabilities that augment the existing stack and not require, third-party dependencies to make a, tight coupled solution.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that relying on, the public B is actually like more of a risk or more of a coupling than embedding a piece of open source software that doesn't rely on any third party service like that is embedded Go Livepeer, right? But yeah, I also completely understand them not wanting to like embed this pretty heavy software dependency in their main release. So yeah, I think that loose coupling model is interesting. Just a little bit of a sort of devil's advocate view, though. It's like,
Sure.
well, if you're spinning up a public B and now you need to run that as a hosted service, it has to be highly available. It can never go down. You're like recreating the Livepeer Studio transcoding only API a little bit, right? Like I think it's great that there's more than one. There should be more than one, and they should have different pricing and OS selection algorithms and be in different regions and all of that. But you could imagine just doing an Uncast integration that calls the Studio transcode only API, and it's not really a different capability that they're
It's
getting
funny you
through
say
this.
that.
Whereas actually, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. No, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I was going to end just by saying, but like the actual disruptive thing is, wow, I spin up my own cast server and it just gets transcoding direct from the Livepeer network. And I'm not relying on anyone else to keep a service up and running. I'm not paying a third party service. I'm doing this entirely myself, but they do have to like fund it with ETH, which is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, and I think, at the end of the day, you may be right. And I think as it specific to Owncast, I think the loose coupling was trying to piggyback on their distribution channel and just catch the wave of their customer base, right? That was really the main impetus there. But I think in a larger scale deployment, the embedding of the software is going to be probably the most performant and scalable answer. So yes, I think there probably will be a day, and it might be something that we add on to the future endeavors if we feel like the embedding of Go Livepeer into Owncast is a fork that we want to create as a community, and we think that there's value there. I'm for that too. I mean, initially I started there. Like I want to embed it in everything. I want to go embed it, and in fact, that Owncast is written in the Go language makes it that much easier to embed it. We looked at some of the other media servers that are either written in JavaScript or they're written in C. Those may be a bit more difficult to embed, but I think I think that's a great idea, and I definitely would support doing that. And in fact, I looked at the test stream application written by Go Livepeer that is also open source, and that has its embedded Livepeer broadcaster inside of it. And I started to pull that apart and use that as a starting point for this Owncast integration. So I think, yes, that is probably ultimately going to happen. But I think, just in the sake of limited scope and another, as many experiments that we can get in place, I thought this might be the right first step, knowing that Studio's there. And to be honest with you, I would take the same integration and we'll provide Studio access as well. So public broadcaster, Studio, and self-hosted. That was what my thoughts were.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for the answer. Definitely a lot to potentially design around from like a product and user experience perspective. So yeah, impossible to nail the perfect productization here, but hopefully you hear feedback from like Owncast users and can let that inform where to iterate on.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's probably the starting point is get it in the hands of these customers that are actually streaming today. And if you go on to Owncast and you search for their directory, and there's a directory site that has, I would say, 20, 30, active streams going on all day using Owncast media server. And if we can just penetrate that directory and get this integration in there, ultimately embedding it might be the right answer from a performance perspective. But to your point is we really want to get that feedback and drive the discussions based on demand from customers that are actually looking to use these capabilities.
Wonderful. Any other questions based on that topic before I move on to funding and budgets? Excellent. Okay, cool. That was a great great chat. That was really, really good. Osman, I brought you up. Did you have any questions?
Yeah. Thank you. So I thought that this was like maybe I misunderstood. I read the proposal, but it was like taking out the wallet abstraction altogether. I thought this was kind of like that. But then Doug wrote something in the comments, and he said that Livepeer Studio was a demand generation tool, and this Livepeer Cloud SPE will be another type of demand generation tool, a shot on goal, he said. So this is like another type of Livepeer Studio, I understand now. So maybe I misunderstood before. This is like another kind of Livepeer Studio.
Let me
Is this?
clarify that if I can. I think the
Yeah.
the big distinction between Livepeer Studios and this particular integration, especially if we look at the Owncast media server, is this is not the SPE is not built for developers who want to integrate with Livepeer. As I said before, so Studio says we have an API. You want to use our transcoding services, create an account, and then you can use our API and send your workloads to us. The big distinction here is we are not providing an API for developers. We're taking the technology itself and bringing it and trying to either embed it or pair it with popular media servers. So Owncast was, attempt number one, where we are going to take the current open source software. We're going to enable the capabilities of using Livepeer without the wallet, without the infrastructure that you need to run a node. So we're different in that regard, but it isn't to stop anyone from running their own broadcaster and funding a wallet and still using the Livepeer Owncast integration. They can still use it and still self-host. And I suspect there's going to be quite a few people that want to do that self-hosting, because that's the spirit of Owncast, is self-hosting, individual, own your own content. These are all the tenets that make Livepeer Livepeer, right? This is the mission of Web3, is to let people take control of their stuff and stop pushing it to third-party entities that, control and gate and act and, limit and mine your data and spy on you. So like all of these things are to eliminate all of that and to allow the self-hoster to stay self-hosted. So I think I think that's a little bit different from Livepeer Studio. Yeah, there's probably some gray area, some overlap there, but they're not the same target markets. Customers for the Owncast media server integration are not going to be developers. They're going to be content creators, or with very limited technical skills, but enough to spin up a server somewhere on a VPS.
Yep. Okay. Thanks. That's a green light for me, and this is a step forward, in my opinion. And this is different. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the comment. I think that's a good point. We saw your post on the Livepeer forum, but again, if Livepeer is to be successful, we need as many experiments as possible. Experimentation is the way we get the feedback that we need to start to plot a course to make it mainstream adoption. I know Livepeer has been around for 7-8 years, but I think that was a phase to get Web3 accepted. But I think, to expand this into real world customer use cases, we need more experimentation. And I feel like the creation of the Livepeer treasury was so that we can provide funding for those to take these shots on goal, as Doug calls it. So this is one, and it provides a blueprint, but we are hoping that as a result of this, we green light the community to get busy, to start looking at more ways to do this integration, more ways to bring Livepeer to other customers. So I think it's, it's a couple things all together.
Awesome. I want to jump into now the the funding and budget for this SPE. Your total funding you posted here is 44,500 USD, with a couple items broken down: 8,500 for the broadcaster setup, 2,400 for the deposit and reserve, and then 36,000 for the Owncast integration, the metrics, the development, documentation, testing. I just want to based on this funding budget, do you feel this is an adequate amount to get what you need to get done? How did you come up with these figures?
I think the main thing here is we thought there's expertise we have here on this team. I mean, I spent myself, 20 plus years in software architecture for large healthcare and e-commerce companies, and providing this performance. And Speedy's been in, AI and big data analytics. Papa Bear's been, an expert in transcoding services for, large entities as well over his career. So when we look at this, it's what's the small. Now, think of it this way: that we were thinking we were going to be the first SPE going forward. So we didn't want to come out of the gate with a 5-year plan and funding for it, right? We wanted to find something that was small enough that could build credibility for the ideas that we have here, but not expensive, right? I mean, we look at 45K, USD. This is a drop in the bucket in the treasury, right? By the time we're finished with this funding will be restored to the treasury. So, we're looking at it like it's small enough, but it's packed with a lot of information, a lot of content, and a lot of potential. So the fact that we didn't have the proper feedback to determine the right starting point, we thought this was a prudent starting point. The funding we thought was small enough, but big enough to really have an impact initially. And I think awareness, marketing, there's a lot of things that are going to come into play that, maybe, we might need to come back to the well. But I think for now, this gives us plenty of funding to build the software, get that feedback, get that shot on goal, and make that first experiment, and then look to see how it may drive the future needs of the SPE. And then I guess that's, if there's anything else, Papa or Speedy, that you want to add, please jump in.
No, I think you covered that pretty well. Unless Titan, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I just basically I saw it, and I had two thoughts. One is, this isn't very much money for doing such a big idea, like the idea of setting up another big broadcaster. It's I just want to ensure that you guys have the funds needed to successfully do this. Just to give people context, right? Like Livepeer mints 100,000 USD worth of tokens a day, right? And those go to delegators and orchestrators, which are mainly on the security and supply side of the network. But right now we really don't have much demand side on the network, and so to fund even just a portion of that to building out demand side tooling, I think is really important. And if you were to take $44,000 over 3 months, as per like the roadmap, that's a pretty small drop in the bucket. And I think that for demand side generation, we really should be pushing for more funding to go that way. So just that's just my initial thought. But then there's also the other side of it, which is, hey, this is a lot of money to go towards something which, is it going to work? What's what's the use case, and these kinds of things. So yeah, I just wanted to get some cohesion around how you came up with this figure, whether you think it's enough to get done. But it sounds like this is kind of the beginning, the planting of the seed. So this money will plant the seed, and if the seed really starts to grow, you can always come back to the treasury for more funding if need be. Is that kind of the idea behind it?
Yeah, I think more so though. That is absolutely true. But I think Mahmoud, one of the community members, commented and he said, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, you know, why would we, build technology for technology's sake, right? And I think we could go in and say, hey, we need $1 million and we're going to build 10 integrations and here are the 10 media servers. But again, we don't want to just build technology for technology's sake. We feel like the big unspoken part of what we're doing here is the feedback, right? We really need to better understand why aren't customers running to Livepeer Studio? Why aren't they doing that? What are the reservations that people are having when they look at this? We already know from a cost perspective that Livepeer is attractive. It's affordable, but we understand that it's a small piece of the total media platform. So we're looking at it to say, this is the first pass, right? Let's get something out there. You're right. It's a good amount of work for the money. It is not a lot of money for the amount of effort we're going to put forward. And I think that's on purpose because we really want the community to understand that we're not here trying to get paid. We're not trying to make a money grab. We really believe in Livepeer as a protocol. We believe there is a potential to make this very accessible and widely adopted. So this is the first step in multiple steps that hopefully we get the proper feedback so that we can realign and make sure we have the proper vision. We have the proper problem to be solved so that when we do come back with a new proposal for a broader or a larger engagement, it's going to be targeted and it's going to have metrics and analytics saying, here's what we expect. Once we get that feedback, we have target customers that we can go after, and there's effort. We can put the marketing behind it. But right now we're kind of, in the dark a little bit. We don't have enough feedback to make those proper decisions to say what the large scale endeavor might be. But I think getting through this gets the community, willing to listen, willing to review proposals, willing to vote on it, get the awareness up. But then it also gives us that credibility to say, hey, at the end of 1 year, we will have run this public broadcaster. What did we learn? What were the key takeaways? What are the insights that we see? And I think that in itself is going to be far more valuable than whatever man hours we invest and whatever nominal amounts of money we pump into this first pass.
Definitely.
And to add to that, I think that we like Mike said. I mean, we're not trying to make a money grab here. We're all big believers in Livepeer. We've all been here a while, and we need something to cover obviously the hard costs, and then something to cover like the developers' times that that are working on this. But I mean, ultimately, we would like to over deliver, and so that's kind of our goal here. And we didn't want to come in and make it look like we're just trying to ask for too much money and stuff like that. So we're really not trying to make anything off this. It's really just trying to cover our costs to make sure that at least we get a little something for all the effort that's put into it. But we're not trying to make a living off this.
Definitely.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Another item I wanted to cover is around team. So it sounds like there's is it 3 of you that are going to be doing this? Is there opens for people to join? Is it just a tight group of you 3 that are doing this? What does your team plan look like?
Now it's 3, and I think with the scope we have here and the vision we have for this first step, I think we're going to have the 3 of us are going to be pretty tied up with this initial phase. I've reached out to some orchestrators on the side and just soliciting some minor feedback, but I think ultimately, from what I gather from the conversations and what I see in the forums and with this a couple of orchestrators that I spoke to, there will be plenty of opportunity for participation from Livepeer. And I think if folks are interested in helping us along this journey, I think documentation, testing, beta testing the public broadcaster and the integration with Owncast will definitely look for some support there. We're going to do it ourselves if no one's going to volunteer, but I think if folks are like us and they have a dream of doing more than just this, we have future states that we would like to get to. So if it's integrating with Ant Media or Oven Media, or maybe it's even making changes to Go Livepeer because there are limitations we learn that we need to overcome first. I think this first proposal, aside from some volunteer help, probably not much room for others here. But beyond this, yeah, we fully want to recruit and get more, especially if we find a niche that needs to be filled and there's potential demand there. We want others to participate. So yeah, it's us right now, but the next proposal or the future integrations, absolutely, we want to gather as many of these folks. I mean, again, not just developers either. I mean, you heard me going on about marketing and also participating in other communities like the Owncast community. We're in their GitHub repo. We're looking at their issues now. We're looking at other projects too to say, how can we get ourselves in there, build up that credibility, get some grassroots adoption happening outside of anything broader than that. So I expect to recruit more along the way, and I expect this to be the catalyst, no pun intended, to spur other subgroups to take what we've done and spin it their way and perhaps get more demand generation projects. So this might be the blueprint for others to take it and build up their own SPEs and target their niche problems that they feel like Livepeer is going to be able to solve. So we will grow. We want to expand. Initially, it's just the three of us, but we're going to take it one day at a time and see how this thing starts to expand.
And I do also want to add that, I mean, everything is open source. So, I mean, anyone is, welcome to contribute in any way that they, feel that they can. So, I mean, it's not like we're not open to having people join in, but we do feel like, at least for this first part, that that we can cover it. But hey, if we post stuff up and people have ideas on it, we are more than willing and help or open to having people come in and join us.
Very cool. Okay, well, that kind of ends the questions that I have. Do we want to any other questions from the community that we haven't covered that you'd like to jump in? Yeah, if there's no more questions, Mike or Papa Bear or Speedy Bird, do you want to end off with any comments or items that we haven't covered so far that you'd like to cover?
I have one just relates to why Owncast and not Mist. I think that was the question that came up a couple times from a couple people, and again, I just wanted to go back to this and say, Mist server and Livepeer Studio, this is their shot, right? This is their attempt to build that integration and build that. And we didn't feel necessary for us to go in and implement another Mist approach when, the Livepeer Inc. is already invested funding there. So we want as many integrations, as many open source media servers that we can get. So we chose Owncast because it wasn't Mist. Mist and Studio are, as I said, enterprise grade. These are the larger scale projects, whereas Owncast is a more personal and intimate solution for individuals and content creators. So I just wanted to at least tackle that particular question, just for folks as are wondering why we weren't using, some of the other stacks. Papa Bear, Speedy, anything else that you want to add?
No, nothing for me. I think we've covered all the points. Certainly, we're going to be around as always, so we'll be open to more questions and feedback. And look to evolve this further.
Cool.
Yeah, and then the last
Yeah,
thing.
no,
Go ahead,
I was
Papa.
going to say, I was just going to say, unless anyone has any other, questions or stuff, I think that we've covered everything we were trying to get across here. So,
Well, the one thing I
good.
want to say as well, just from a transparency perspective, is we fully expect to. We already have, a draft version of the broadcaster documentation, so we are going to publish that immediately. And I think over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be scheduling office hours and touch points at the water cooler so that folks can track our process. So we're going to be publishing blog articles, participating in open office hours with the community. If it's discussions on how we're integrating with Owncast or how we're running the broadcaster, what capabilities are going to be there, what features and technical discussions like architectures and reviewing those architectures, that stuff will be forthcoming and folks will be able to follow along and provide feedback along the way as well. So you won't, it's not like you're going to hear us today and then we're going to disappear and come back in March. We're going to be here every week, beating the drum, providing the feedback and the insights that folks require to make sure that, you get your money's worth. I mean, we are all funding this out of our own pockets, right? This treasury comes from orchestrators, right? They're taxing the orchestrator so that we can generate the funding to provide these initiatives. So we feel we owe it to the community to get the information where the decision logs that we're going through into the hands of the community so that folks can see for themselves, how do they replicate this? How do they do it? What are we doing that may or may not be successful? And providing that, getting that feedback from the communities is going to be paramount for this to be successful. So just putting that out there. And then lastly, I'll say thanks to everybody that has already reviewed. I mean, we've had hundreds of visits to this webpage. We've had multiple users take their time to provide feedback on the forum and in the Livepeer Discord. So thank you guys for being the champions for us, being out there helping us try to make this protocol better. So thank you.
Right on. Cool. Okay, well, with that being said, thanks everyone for joining for the Q&A session. I'd like to quickly jump into the final topic of this call, which was around Henry's topic. Basically having some questions around development or Livepeer in general. Henry, did you want to tell us about some questions you might have or experiences you've been having with Livepeer?
All right. So it's more like a problem that we are facing trying to build a live streaming application on our platform. So the thing is, the streams we're sending to Livepeer Studio doesn't get transcoded, right? But if we're sending stream through OBS through the same pipeline which we created, it transcodes on Livepeer. But if you take the same application and use Facebook Live or any other Facebook Live or YouTube Live as output, the video gets to that even and studio, right? So we've been going back and forth with it even during the week. Last week I actually seek help from most of the guys. Orchestrator in the group said they are not developers, they're actually running the nodes. So I was hoping to bring it here to see if someone has had similar issues and how they were able to get it resolved.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think most of us are just node operators. I don't think like Livepeer Studio is run by Livepeer Inc. So if you're having issues with Livepeer Studio, you'll definitely have to reach out through their channels on support. I don't think anyone here is with Livepeer Studio. So if you are, please just speak up now. But yeah, unfortunately, if you're having issues with Livepeer Studio, I don't think we can help you here. You'd have to either contact, I think in the, does anyone know the best place to go to reach out for support with that? Maybe like the developer lounge. If you get into the developers channel under developer lounge, if you post it in there, you'd probably get support from the studio guys.
There's a developer support channel as well where you could actually submit a ticket and have follow up. So developer support channel would probably be the place I'd start, but the lounge is also a good place.
All right, awesome. I will look into that. I think we've actually dropped a ticket in the developer support channel some time ago, but it didn't really work out. So I was hoping probably I'll get more. We just wanted to be sure, whether the issue is coming from us or probably is an issue with Livepeer. Just want to, get from other people's perspective if they've encountered any problems with that. But no problem. I think I will continue having a discussion with Hans and other Livepeer team to see, what we can work out from that.
Sounds good. Yeah, we hope the best for you and getting that sorted out.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, if you
Cheers.
post a link to your question you said you submitted in the developer support channel, if you could post a link to that, what it was, maybe myself or some others can help push some of the team members on Livepeer to raise the awareness of it. Because sometimes there's a lot of noise and they got a lot going on. So it wouldn't surprise me if it just got lost in the shuffle. So if you could post the link or provide a link here in the chat, that might help to get some people to bring attention to it.
Okay, I think what you just said might be the case, but I wasn't the person who posted the tickets. It was a team member, and at first the team reached out. We were communicating at one point, but while we're having the issues, someone suggested another route, right, for us to solve the issue, which kind of ended the ticket, the whole conversation with the team. But like I said, I'm working with Hans, who is still part of the team, to resolve the issue. I kind of brought it up here to see if someone amongst you guys was building any live streaming application and encountered any issue like that. Just more like opinion, your own opinion, if you've had issues like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've never used Livepeer Studio, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, we're more of the infrastructure behind Livepeer Studio, the developer access through their libraries. I don't think many of the folks on this call are developers who've used it. I played around with the studio integration, but you have a very specific question, and I don't think I have enough expertise to answer.
All right, no problem. I think I believe we'll get it sorted out. It's just to get other people's opinion. If one route doesn't work, we have to apply, take another means. So thanks, guys. I know we will get it sorted out. I know.
Cool.
So I
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
shoot that link back to the chat here, and I'll definitely see what I can do to take a look at it. And I wish you the best of luck as you continue to build out your app.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
No doubt.
Cheers. Okay, well, with that being said, I think we've gone through all of our topics and our Q&A session. So we'll end it there. Thank you all for coming for this week's Water Cooler Chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer. And we will see you all next week. Cheers.
Thanks all.
Cheers. Thank you.